Well, 14 of the world's 15 most polluted cities are in India. This is a shocking revelation made in a WHO global air pollution report. In the database released in Geneva, Kanpur grabs the top spot, while New Delhi, Varanasi and Gwalior and Patna are among the other cities that are most polluted. Mumbai does not feature in that list. The WHO data also says that 9 out of 10 people in the world breathe air containing high levels of pollutants. Well, so the word is out. These are the most polluted cities in the world, not just in the country. Out of the 15 most polluted, the bad news is 14 happens to be from this country. This is a revelation made by the WHO in a global air pollution report. The database was released in Geneva. Kanpur grabs the distinction of being the most polluted. Also, this list features cities like New Delhi, Varanasi, Gwalior and Patna. The national capital of the country is there in the list of 15 most polluted cities as the 6th among the most polluted, in fact. The WHO data also says that 9 out of 10 people in the world breathe air containing high levels of pollutants. This must be a wake-up call for the authorities in India. We are neglecting our environment. There are health hazards that are looming large over us. Most polluted cities in the world, 14 out of the 15 of them are in India. So that is a reality check, that this is no ordinary report. This is a report that has come from none other than the World Health Organization. Vimlendu Jha, environmentalist, joining us this morning. Mr. Jha, good morning. Not very good news for us there, and shocking in fact. 14 out of 15 world's most polluted cities are in India.
Absolutely, and this is not for the first time that we've been given this information. Similar reports, similar studies have occurred and have come in public domain in last couple of years. But every time a report like this comes, the government denies these reports. If you look at what our Environment Minister said yesterday, or Central Pollution Control Board has been saying for the longest time, that we are actually not as polluted as these publications or these authorities or organizations tell us that we are polluted, and also not linking it to health impact. So it's very, very unfortunate. Last 3 years, there have been several studies being conducted nationally and internationally, and there's very little that has actually happened. And imagine Delhi, Varanasi, Kanpur, many such cities. In fact, very interestingly, they're only, we only measure our pollution in 303 cities. And imagine there are only 600 monitoring stations. So we perhaps have more polluted cities, just that we don't know. And we have more and more polluted rural area where we don't even measure. There's not a single monitoring unit in any part of rural India in that sense.
Right, but this is bad enough, isn't it? The fact that we're talking about cities like the national capital also featuring in that list. From time to time, we do see a government coming up with measures like the odd-even number system that they introduced, but none of that seems to be working. Where do you see the problem? Is it vehicular emission? Is it the dependence on coal for our power projects? What's the issue?
Everything together is the reason why we have the situation like this. We need to first understand that government cannot be an advisor when it comes to these policies. Because if you look at the National Clean Air program, in that there is nothing which is mandatory. There's nothing which is forced upon states to do it. It's only advisory in that sense, and there's no legal recourse that the government has. So first thing, we need to have clear targets. There are no targets that's been set by the government to really reduce pollution. Vis-a-vis thermal power, as per Supreme Court judgment, by 2017, the emission norms, the clean emission norms were to be followed. And illegally, Central Pollution Control Board has actually shifted the date by 5 years. Now it's 2022, which is the deadline. So it's everything. It's odd even is just a small event in that sense. I would say that at a national level, policy has to change, and also rather than looking at this from a city-to-city point of view, because pollution does not have political boundary, it needs to have a regional view and clear targets. We need to have clear targets set for our country rather than thinking about.
So are you saying, Vimlendu, that we have not been able to identify and address the problem, call a spade? For example, we do have a period of time where we would ban the crackers, for instance, and there would be instances where we would say the burning burning of paddy crops is an issue, whether industrial waste, the drainage system, all that is causing a havoc. In Mumbai, for instance, plastic has been banned.
Yeah.
So all these measures, none of that seems to be part of an organized plan. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. If you look at many of these things, many of these bans have actually been done because of judicial intervention. It is the Supreme Court or the courts of our country that are driving anything that is happening vis-a-vis governance when it comes to pollution. Also, we cannot look at these things as isolated events. We need to have a comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Like, very interestingly, the government in the last budget actually came up with 1,100 crores for crop residue burning. But we don't really know what has actually happened with that 1,100 crores. So one is posturing vis-a-vis when it comes to issues of environment, but actual concrete plan with real tasks.
Well, good point there where you say that there is a lot of posturing, a lot of things done for the record, but none of it seems to be effective. Thanks for joining us, Vimlendu Jha. I also have Debi Goenka, another environmentalist, joining us. Yes, Mr. Goenka, I would like to understand from you, how do you read the situation here? It seems we are in dire straits. People in this country are breathing toxic air. 14 of our cities are in the list of the world's most polluted.
Well, the problem seems to be that the government does not want to give this issue a priority. Issue of air pollution and air quality has been raised for the past several decades. Earlier, government tried to cover up by giving wrong data, and all the earlier reports used to indicate that pollution was well under control and there was no cause to worry. So, of course, visibly and in terms of health quality, we all knew what was going on. It's only over the past 3 years or 4 years that accurate air quality data is being reported. And for the first time, people have also realized that health is impacting their lives and their families' lives. There have been cases where people have moved out of Delhi because of the air quality issues.
Yes.
And living in Mumbai, despite the fact that we are surrounded by the sea, the fact that we are on top of the list of polluted cities means that we actually have a very serious problem on our hands.
Right.
Vehicular pollution is uncontrolled. We have a power plant in Bombay that wants to convert from gas to coal, and they call it modernization. And we have all kinds of projects being planned in the city that will encourage private vehicle use.
Right. So can we talk about the solutions here? Is there a possibility that if we shift to CNG, for instance, or if measures like banning diesel vehicles, some of those measures need to be really taken up in the right earnest? Because we see, like you said, a lot of lip service, but the government has not been able to walk the talk.
Yes, so ideally, I would say that if you're talking about transportation issues, we should try and follow the Singapore model, where there is very good, efficient and affordable public transport. And private transport is very strictly regulated and in fact priced at market levels. If you want to own a private vehicle in Singapore, you really have to pay for it and so on. So I think that's a real model we should aim for. In terms of Mumbai's priority, I would say upgrading the suburban train network, it should be the topmost priority. And having east-west connectivity should be the next priority. And we should actually discourage private car use in any form, rather than build more roads and freeways and coastal roads and trans-harbour links.
Well, this is not the first time these solutions have been suggested. The point of the matter is these have not been taken seriously. The other aspect I would like you to throw some light on, because it's so recent that the government has announced the issue of rural electrification, but the over-dependence on coal, that is something that never gets the kind of attention it should. That how do we reduce that? Because coal emission is something globally being warned as the biggest polluter.
Well, all over the world, in fact, if you see what's happening all over the world, coal-fired projects are being shut down. Because renewable energy has now become cheaper than coal, all the investment is actually going into RE and not into coal or fossil fuels. India is perhaps the only country that's actually still thinking of investing money in new coal-fired power plants. And I think that's a huge mistake, both in terms of environmental issues and also in terms of financial issues. A lot of these projects are going to be financially unviable and will have to be shut down sooner rather than later. So I think it would be wiser to focus on clean energy right now rather than repeat the same kind of mistakes that have happened in other parts of the world.
Right, clean energy, and perhaps there should be also a shift to healthier options like solar energy rather than drawing power from coal power projects. Thanks, Mr. Debi Goenka, for joining us with your valuable inputs on this big story.